I was a primary school boy in the 50s. When you walked into our kitchen at home, and into most kitchens in New Zealand, there was a sugar bin and a flour bin. The mothers didn't go out to work, and it was believed that to be a good mother and housewife, the cake tins were full, the biscuit tins were full, and the sweet dessert was served with most evening meals. I think that had a hell of a lot to do with the decay rate in New Zealand. But those decay rates vary from country to country. But if you look at global statistics, the whole thing has come down. Whether that has been a reduction in overall carbohydrate consumption, whether it's the influence of topical fluoride via fluoride toothpastes, that I'm not sure. For Finland, for example, there's some interesting stuff there now regarding xylitol. Thanks to Mr. Hitler, Finland had its sugar supply cut off during the Second World War, and they had to go searching for another sweetener, and they came up with xylitol, which was refined from the bark of a tree, or part of the tree anyhow. And after the war, they discovered the Finns had very little to any tooth decay. And there's been some good experiments now showing that if you can put somebody on a dose of xylitol 5 times a day, either waiting a xylitol lolly or using the xylitol in the toothpaste, after 3 months, the biofilm, which has been now called it, as opposed to the plaque, the biofilm becomes healthy. And both the caries and the tooth decay, that is, and the periodontal disease also disappears.
All right, well, we'll turn now to the defenders of the status quo. Just before I do, just a couple of quick facts that I was interested to learn in preparing for this evening. Hastings started dosing its water in 1954, and hence I imagine Dr. Duke's reference to the bi-city or the Twin City experiment. 1954 was when Hastings began, stopping briefly in 1991, and then continuing after a binding referendum voted to continue it. The drinking water standards in force allow a maximum level of 1.5 parts per million to be added to water. Hastings currently adds 0.7 parts per million, so less than half, and that's into water which already, it seems, contains 0.2 parts per million. So the dose that people receive when drinking Hastings water would appear to be 0.9 parts per million, which is well less than the New Zealand drinking water standard. Interesting. All right, the first speaker to address you on behalf of the defenders of the status quo is Dr. Robin Wyman from the Hawke's Bay District Health Board. Dr. Wyman is a dental specialist in public health dentistry and is a general dentist. He is clinical director of oral health services at Hawke's Bay District Health Board and principal dental officer for the Whanganui District Health Board. Robin's clinical practice involves hospital-based paediatric dentistry, special needs dentistry, and general dentistry for high-need patients. He's also engaged in a number of public health dentistry projects involving monitoring of the research and providing advice on water fluoridation, not surprisingly, equity of access to oral health services, improving child oral health outcomes, clinical leadership, and quality improvement for dental services. Would you join with me, please, and welcome Dr. Robin Wyman.
Good evening. In this first part of our presentation, to help you understand the issues of community water fluoridation, we simply want to provide you with information in a more national context, and we'll ask Cheryl to play the first video clip, which is from Sir Peter Gluckman, who is the Prime Minister's Chief Science Advisor.
Was one of the great public health discoveries of the 20th century. The discovery that the addition of fluoride to water at low concentrations in regions where natural concentrations of fluoride are low was one of the great public health discoveries of the 20th century. It's still very effective, it's still very important, particularly for vulnerable members of our community. There are no health risks, and many other substances in high doses can be toxic. Clearly, public health and dental scientists have spent many decades looking carefully at the science of putting fluoride at low levels of the water. It is one of the most well-studied questions in public health, and the safety of fluoride at these very low concentrations, which are in fact much lower than in many natural water supplies around the world, is certain. While there are no health risks from fluoride in water, at the very low levels of fluoride we use, there can be some small and slight mottling of the teeth, which is not disfiguring, can barely be seen by dentists under microscopes, and it's certainly not the severe fluorosis that is shown on websites from those who oppose fluoride in water.
I'd also like to bring you the information that the New Zealand Māori Dental Association, Taumara, have put together to ensure that community water fluoridation continues for their communities. Thank you.
To be done preschoolers from 9 up to 5-year-olds, right up to seniors. There's just so much work to be done.
By this background, you've got a couple of holes on the front here.
A lot of the preschoolers we have to refer to hospital because they're so young we can't treat them in the clinic.
Well done. So we're going to widen the chair. How?
Their baby teeth that have just come through, they're actually decayed before they even make it into the mouth. Kids that live in our rural areas with huge holes in their teeth, lots and lots of decay, especially in their front teeth where it shouldn't be seen at all. What we've found is that fluoride in these small quantities can be taken up into your teeth, and it makes the surface of your teeth really strong and toughens them. It's a normality. It's there every day. Everyone knows someone whose children or adults have missing teeth, have tooth decay, brown teeth in the front, nick teeth in the front, missing teeth. It's very common and it shouldn't be.
That concludes the first part of the presentation for the District Health Board. What they plan to do is show those videos first, and then in their second bracket they will each address you on their various topics. But happy to take a couple of questions for the District Health Board now. Lots of hands going up, and the first one was the lady in the middle right, please. Understand?
I have two really short questions. So how do you explain it that before New Zealand was colonized, Maori teeth are one of the best teeth in the world?
There is anthropological research that's been done by a number of researchers and showing low caries rates amongst Māori, and it is highly related to the levels of sugar in Western diets in terms of dental decay levels across the world. We don't doubt that.
Thank you. Now, front row here, please.
Oh, I was just wondering where it came from, the fluoridation.
The fluoride supply is supplied by Orica Kemney, we understand, for the Hawke's Bay, for Hastings District Council.
This in the back.
Yes, I read in the Hawke's Bay today that about 400 children from the fluoridated Hastings area received general anesthesia to have teeth removed that were badly decayed. And can you explain why all these children from the fluoridated area were having to have this general anesthesia?
Well, as one of the dentists who undertakes that work for the District Health Board, the numbers aren't as high as that. Most of the time we have around 300 children we would expect in a year, 300 to 400. Those children come from fluoridated and non-fluoridated parts of our District Health Board. More of them do come from a non-fluoridated part of the District Health Board. The research that's been done on children who have decay that's bad enough to need to go for general anaesthesia is that there is still some benefit from community water fluoridation, but most of the benefit from community water fluoridation benefits children who have less severe decay than that level of decay. We don't doubt that if enough sugar is in the diet, if enough oral hygiene is not practiced, that we can get very severe levels of dental decay, which do lead us to the most severe situations.
Thank you. There's a question in the front row over here, and then we'll go to that side. Another question in the front? No? This side of the room, please. Thank you.
If the addition of low-dose fluoride, as Sir Peter Gluckman maintains, is one of the greatest public health advances of the 20th century, why do the majority, vast majority of European countries refuse to fluoridate? What do they know that you're ignoring?
I think it's really important to understand that the World Health Organization recommends to all countries in the world that to control dental caries across their populations, a population fluoride program should be put in place. Now that can be done in a number of different ways. You can use community water fluoridation and fluoridated toothpaste as very common ways of providing community exposures to fluorides. Salt fluoridation is another program that can be used, and a number of countries will use professional applications in their health delivery system to do it. European countries, continental Europe, has a relatively low level of use of community water fluoridation. A number of those countries will use salt fluoridation or other fluoride programs. They will use higher doses or higher levels in the toothpastes. Other countries have traditionally used community water fluoridation. Water fluoridation has a very large benefit, but it's one of the most cost-effective ways of delivering a population program. But the World Health Organization does clearly state that countries should have a population program in place. The delivery mechanism is a decision that's made by different countries.
Right, but that decision is personal choice. They're not mass medicating everyone. So my question to you is, they must feel that it's not safe and it's not preferable to put it throughout the water system.
I don't think it's fair to say that it's personal choice. If you look at community toothpaste or salt fluoridation, what is happening is countries are making decisions on behalf of their country, either at a local government level or a regional level or a state level, as to how they run their population health programs. Some of them use mechanisms like salt. We use water, and so do a number of other countries of a similar nature to us. Many use toothpaste at different programs, and some of the Scandinavian countries use very heavy investments in their health programs to deliver the work through health providers. We do that in New Zealand as well.
Sorry, we've had a fair crack. I want to take another question, please, from the gentleman in the back.
Yeah, it's actually not my question, it's my GP's. What's the long-term ecological implications of flooding the environment with halos? Does anybody know? Does anybody looking?
Did everybody hear that question? Could you just repeat it, please? I'll try and repeat it, but I'd get it wrong, I think.
The question my GP asked is, what's the long-term implications of flooding the environment with halides? And do we know, or is anybody looking to see what other health effects there might be? It's presumably accumulating.
Carol.
I'll answer that. If you're referring to fluorides, fluorides are naturally present in all rocks and soil and in all waters. So I'm not quite sure what your GP is referring to in terms of contamination of the environment, because the environment already contains large amounts of fluoride.
We'll take one more question, lady.
If fluoride is, such a need, why does Napier not have it and we have it? I don't understand that. And my other big issue for myself is, will it change the flavour of the water?
I think I can answer the first question. I think there's in fact a technical issue relating to the filtration process which is used in Napier, which means that Napier can't fluoridate the water, even though some of us may want it, or may not want it, who knows. But it's impossible, so that's the trying to be neutral. That's the reason why Napier doesn't fluoridate the water. Sorry, the second question was, will it change the taste?
No. Fluoride in the water supply doesn't change the taste or the colour or the odour of the water.
In fact, when I was a young lad and growing up in Hastings, we would go away for family holidays to places like Auckland or Wellington, and we'd come home and there would be a standard saying, oh, lovely Hastings water.
Well, that's my point.
Whether it's fluoride or whether it's something else, who knows? But now, we'll turn to the second